everyone? Tommy P back with another naturally obsessed look into basketball. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about today's video. And as I always like to preface by saying, I am not a basketball expert, just a fan who's naturally obsessed. And in today's video, day one of NBA draft week, I'm really excited. I love drafts, NFL, NBA. It's very exciting for me because I follow college athletics so closely, and it's exciting for me to see the top tier collegiate athletes take the next step into their careers. And I think this is a very good NBA draft. A lot of talent that I can see translating to a very high level, some potential all-stars, all NBA caliber players in this draft, I feel. But today what I want to talk about is some teams that I could see potentially making moves involving picks, either leading up to the draft or on actual draft night itself. So I'm not going to really talk about some teams. You know, I know I've made plenty of videos talking about the Phoenix Suns looking to move into the draft. They don't hold any picks right now, but they have assets that they feel could potentially get them into the first round of the draft. There's a lot of stories. I've made a couple videos on it already about Rudy Gobert potentially being moved on a draft night trade. Chicago Bulls have been heavily talked about. There's rumors coming out over the last week about the Atlanta Hawks being heavily interested, but I'm going to exclude that. I'm talking about teams that could potentially be looking to move up in the draft, or teams that could be looking to move off of their pick to acquire a certain asset. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you're a fan of said team, if you're a fan of them moving off of this pick to either move up or down in the draft or to acquire a certain player, just let me know where you're at. Or if you're not a fan of these teams, you're just a basketball fan, let me know what you think about these moves. So the first team I want to talk about is the Portland Trail Blazers. The Portland Trail Blazers hold the number 7 pick in this year's draft. And I made a video a couple days ago talking about how even though they were heavily rumored, at the time of the video, they had the 4th best odds to acquire DeAndre Ayton in the offseason. But I made a video stating that there were a lot of reports and rumors saying that talks between the Portland Trail Blazers and Jusuf Nurkic have started progressing in a more positive way, and now they're expected to bring him back and to withdraw their name from the DeAndre Ayton sweepstakes. So now that that's happened, they're in a really unique situation because I do think at number 7, you have some potential talent that could be difference making, but at the same time, when you have a player of the caliber of Damian Lillard, which there was some mixed reaction about Damian Lillard, I don't get it. He definitely has some limitations in some aspects of his game, but where he's superior and great and outstanding, that's why he's considered a superstar in this league. And when you have a superstar in the NBA, anything's possible. It's just who you surround yourself with. And I know there's been a lot of dysfunction the last couple of years in Portland, some of it out of their control, some of it just some bad roster decisions that came to bite them in the ass. It happens. But this year, you're looking to have Damian Lillard healthy for the entire year, and there's a lot of feeling, I'm sure, within the organization that if they make a couple moves here or there, that they could potentially be playoff contenders, not championship contenders, but playoff contenders. Get back into the playoffs, maybe win a round, who knows. But if they choose to move off this pick, there's plenty of reports that are linking OG Anunoby from Toronto, and there's a lot more reports recently that are going around social media linking them to Jeremy Grant from the Detroit Pistons. Now, I personally don't know if my opinion, would be willing to trade the number 7 pick for either one of those players. But when you feel like you have a certain window and you want to keep your superstar happy, because make no mistake about it, Damian Lillard is absolutely loyal to the Portland Trailblazers. Not only has he never said that he wants to leave, but he's reiterated time and time and time again that he wants to stay. So, my question to you guys, I really want to know what you think. Does it make sense for Portland to trade the number 7 pick for either OG Anunoby or Jeremy Grant? Let me know. But I did a lot of research into this, and there are some legitimate people that are making the claims that there's some actual legs to this. None of them are predicting it's going to happen necessarily, but that there's legitimate legs for these rumors, and that talks have happened. So that's a team to watch as far as this week goes and on draft night. Second team I want to talk about, the New York Knicks. They hold the 11th pick, and from what my research showed, they are looking at any and all options to possibly move up in the draft because they really want to draft a game-changing point guard. And they have a name in mind. So, Jaden Ivey is probably, no question about it, the best point guard in this draft, right? And as far as most mock drafts go, they have him coming off the board at number 4, where the Sacramento Kings are picking. So this is interesting for a number of different reasons. So De'Aaron Fox is in Sacramento, and a couple years ago, they drafted another point guard, Tyrese Halliburton, and they just moved off of him to acquire Domantas Sabonis. So it's really interesting to me because they've shown that even though they have De'Aaron Fox, they're willing to draft another point guard to try to play with him, next to him. But would they try to get a package from the New York Knicks to move off of this? Because at number 11 to move up to number 4, you're obviously, it's going to be very pricey. You're going to have to give up probably a few future first-round picks, and then you're going to have to move off of some of that young talent, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin. I don't think there's any realistic scenario where not only they'd want to acquire Julius Randle, but for financial reasons, that just doesn't make any sense, and I don't think that would be even possible. So that's something to watch out for, because New York is New York, no disrespect, but they make a lot of questionable moves, and it's very clear at this point that Kemba Walker was a mistake. Derrick Rose, I love me some D Rose. He's filled that role with the Knicks very, very well, but got to have a long-term solution at the point guards, because RJ Barrett's the real deal. I'm 100% convinced that dude, he can play basketball, no doubt about it. So you have to start making moves that make sense for the future of the organization. And I know we're talking about New York, who's infamous for never doing that, but if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I think what New York does, whether it's stand pat or aggressively try to trade up to go after a point guard, it's going to say a lot about where they feel they're at, because 2 years ago, making the playoffs, I think it's safe to say, based off of how they finished this last season, 2 years ago they overachieved, but the talent is there. The talent is definitely there. I think it's really hard to explain. How has anyone not said everything there is to say about New York at this point? Just, I don't know. They always surprise me, and in a bad way, in a very bad way. So the next 2 teams I want to talk about are teams that either made the playoffs or were very close to making the playoffs. That's the Charlotte Hornets and the Memphis Grizzlies. The reason I want to talk about these 2 is because both of them hold 2 draft picks this year, and You have the Grizzlies, who finished second in the Western Conference this year. I know they had a second round loss against the Golden State Warriors, but with all that young talent, I really do feel that they are going to be legitimate NBA title contenders next year. Legitimate. Definitely not going to be the favorites to win the West, because as I just checked before this video, I don't remember exactly. I want to say they have the fourth best odds to win the West. I know the Warriors are one. I want to say the Clippers were 2 and the Phoenix Suns were 3. So I think they have the fourth best odds as of right now to win the West. But that's before the draft. That's before free agency. Who knows what they're going to do from now until the season begins to bolster that roster. But I think while you have all this young talent, under most of them rookie contracts, get aggressive. I'm all for combining those picks to try to trade up to get a better prospect for your long-term future. Or if you want to package those 2 picks and try to get a vet for the short term and potentially the long term, why not? But you have to go for it right now because you have a young team that's built to do so. And then for the Hornets, losing the play-in, LaMelo, real deal, gonna be a top player in this league for a long time. And if you're the Hornets, you're trying to make the playoffs and win your first playoff series, and I can't even tell you how long. Off the top of my head, I have no idea. But the whole Kenny Atkinson scenario, him turning down the job after initially accepting it, I have a feeling, I haven't heard anything, I haven't read anything, but I have a feeling that Mike D'Antoni is going to end up getting that job. I know he was a finalist for that job. Maybe they'll reach out to Frank Vogel, who was interviewed. I don't think he was a finalist, but he did interview for that job. They were this close, and you could see the talent coming about, everything the right way. I really, really enjoyed watching that team for the most part, and you have to wonder, is a new head coach going to make things better or make things worse? Because learning a new system, there's a lot of youth on that team. I think with the Hornets, there's more questions than answers at this point. I think they're a team to watch to see if they're going to stand pat, because their 2 picks, I want to say it's 13 and 15, if I'm not mistaken. So 1 lottery pick, 1 just outside of the lottery. So good picks. You can find talent at both those positions if they stand pat or if they use them to try to trade up. Next 2 teams I want to talk about, the San Antonio Spurs and the Houston Rockets. 2 teams that are in a clear rebuild right now, but each of those 2 teams hold 3 draft picks. So it's going to be really interesting for me personally. Maybe you agree with this. If they choose to stand pat because they are rebuilding, or if they try to trade up or acquire some cheap veteran talent and try to defer some of those draft picks to next year or maybe a couple years from now. I'm just interested to see. Teams in rebuilds, a lot of teams approach them in different ways. Yeah, it's the most common to draft your talent and just take a couple years, let them develop. But some teams are very impatient. The Rockets, I think they're going to ride it out. I think they're going to just let these young players do their thing, develop. But San Antonio, this is the second consecutive year not making the playoffs after Greg Popovich has always made the playoffs. They're not used to this. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they swing for the fences because they've missed the playoffs 2 years and they don't like how missing the playoffs feels. Just something to keep an eye on and think about. And then the last team I want to talk about is the Washington Wizards, who hold the 10th pick in this draft. The reason why I want to keep an eye on the Wizards personally is because I've been doing a lot of reading. A lot of people have asked me, because I cover the Phoenix Suns a lot on this channel, about Bradley Beal coming to the Suns, and I personally don't think so, because one, I don't think he wants to leave Washington, similar to Damian Lillard, very loyal, and two, I don't think the Wizards want to trade him. I really don't think so. I know, based off of what my research showed me, that they're trying very hard to acquire a new starting point guard. You know, Spencer Dinwiddie, the reason they traded him was it wasn't a fit. He didn't fit well with that team at all. And Porzingis, I don't really take a lot out of his. He played pretty well towards the end of the season, but I don't really take a lot out of that, because they're a team that knew they weren't going to make the playoffs. They were playing a lot of bad competition as well, and you know, players tend to perform well when there's not a lot of pressure. And we've seen before injury what Kristaps Porzingis is capable of. So I'm trying not to be an asshole, but I just didn't take a lot from his good performance. It's going to say a lot, though, whether or not, if they keep this pick, depending on who they draft, it's going to say a lot about what the front office and the coaching staff feels about the future pairing of Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. I feel if they trade the pick to acquire a point guard like they want, it's a pure indication that Bradley Beal's not going anywhere, at least to start the year. Maybe all goes to hell, as has been pretty usual for the Washington Wizards, unfortunately. And at this trade deadline, maybe they finally decide there's no saving this. We have to blow up and start from square one. And then maybe we see Bradley Beal traded. But it's going to say a lot about the front office and how they feel about the future of the team with Bradley Beal based off what they do with this draft pick. So let me know what you guys think about all I just talked about. I know I talked about a lot and thoughts were kind of scrambled. I apologize for that, but it's just a lot to think about, because this is the beginning of where the most significant change comes from. You see a lot of movement before free agency begins, and you get a good idea as to what direction a team is going based off of moves that they do make and based off of moves that they don't make. So again, let me know what you guys think, if you agree or disagree with anything I talked about, or if there's something I didn't bring up that you'd like to mention and bring to my attention, please do so. But in the meantime, guys, more draft coverage coming throughout the week. I can't wait. On draft day on Thursday, I'm going to be coming out with my top 10 prospect list. Make sure you're on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, guys, again, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about today's video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, guys.